What was it like voicing such a massive villain in Sword Art Online, where you're kind of teasing, sexual assault?
Yeah, that character is probably not a CEO anywhere today. It was with a role like that, you try to with every role you have to find something that you can latch onto so that you can be that character's champion.
Yeah.
When it's a character like that, for me, I strip away the actual actions of what he's doing, and I'm like, what at the core does he want? And so then I try to get behind that and rally behind that, and that helps give me the fuel to move forward. I thought that was the kind of craziest, creepiest character I've ever played, but there's a character in ReZero who he's nuts, and he's basically like anime Joker in a way, in like a weird sadistic way. He's the worst. When I played him, I remember turning to Chris Kaysen, who directed it, and I'm like, this is the one. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, this is the weirdest, creepiest role I've ever done. Ever. I knew it right there. So Oberon could take a few villain lessons from him, I guess, but yeah, it was weird.
Do you believe in what Christian Bale says, that if you play a villain, it's more freeing as an actor?
I think definitely villains do have more fun in the sense that they don't subscribe to rules. The hero does. The hero is always going to have a really, not strict, but a pretty set structure of how they're going to proceed through the story. Whereas a villain just makes up the rules as they go along. So it is, in a way, pretty freeing. I think, I like playing both. I think playing the hero is better because the villain usually dies.
Do you get to go into the booth and play off other actors, like on Sword Art Online with Shirame?
Do anime or any kind of dubbing? No, we record it separately. When I work on shows like Scooby-Doo or Ben 10, we're recording together, and it's great. It's always great to work off other people, for sure. But it's kind of an isolated existence for dubbing, because and with good reason. With each line, the engineer has to take it and make sure it fits in the exact pre-existing animation. And with anime, of course, there's moments where it's like little, big, small, crying, sad, nosebleed, happy, eating food, all in the moment. And so it would be difficult to do with more than one person at once. So unfortunately, I don't get to see Jeremy as much as people think we hang out, even though we are kind of neighbors. Like, we don't live that far from each other. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me do this. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm actually going to send her a Marco Polo right now. And I'm going to say, okay. Hey, Jeremy, we're sitting here and I'm hanging out with some folks, doing a little interview action. And we were just talking about you and how amazing you are, and how fantastic you are behind the mic, and how that we don't get to hang out very much, even though we kind of live next to each other. So let's do this. December, we have to get together and have a dinner. Deal? If it's a deal, say nothing. Perfect. Okay, December. All right, so she'll get that message and she'll let me know what she thinks.
I'm gonna use that.
Do you have rituals that you practice before each voice acting session? How many takes do you generally get to?
For me, for me it's like one or two takes, but it is I'm grateful that for those situations, but there are times when sometimes I work with actors where it's a few more than that. It just depends on the situation. So and there's a lot of different extenuating circumstances that could lead to more takes. Maybe the engineer, something happened with Pro Tools and something stopped recording, or maybe there's a loud bang in the other room, or maybe I was off mic, or someone was off mic, or someone hit the mic, and so there's a variety of reasons. But luckily it's about one or two takes, and then they get what they need, which might mean the director's not paying attention at all, but makes me feel good. I typically don't. For Sergeant Frog, I improv'd a lot, and a lot stayed in. But typically, I won't improv because I have a weird reason why I don't. It revolves around the fact that essentially, if you start improving and they keep something in there, you've now become a writer on the show. But are you getting credit for that? No. The writer gets credit for that. And if there's a cool line you come up with that is yours and maybe it becomes your catchphrase, who gets credit for that? The writer. And it's like, I'm cool with it if they're like, hey, Todd co-wrote blah, blah, blah in this episode, but it doesn't ever go down that way. So I'm really kind of resistant to improv like that behind the mic. Because it happens a lot. I'll get directors that are like, go ahead and feel free to, give us one take as written, but if you want to give us another take improv, all I do is I go, okay. And I don't do it. So.
Have you ever spoken beforehand about getting some kind of credit? Or how does it work? They say no?
When I, not specifically for improv, but when I was directing Saint Seiya: The Lost Canvas, we rewrote those scripts. I rewrote those scripts extensively, and I asked for a writing credit on it because it wasn't like one line here, two lines here. Entire scripts I rewrote throughout the 26 episodes. There was another show. I don't know if it ever came out. Oh my God, Crow's Blood. Probably no one's ever heard of it. Yeah. Crow's Blood is like it's a show where they took a girl pop band and they made a show with them. Like, how they take sometimes this big band. Let's capitalize on your popularity and let's make a show out of it. They did. It's called Crow's Blood. It's an interesting show. It's like on purpose, like cool, like B-movie horror. But with those scripts, I rewrote every one of them. So I got credit for. I asked for credit for that. Yeah. Not knowing. Especially in the entertainment industry, when things can change like that, when you have, when you have a movie like Dark Fate, Terminator Dark Fate, get bomb at the box office, and then Tim Miller, who directed it, then his Kitty Pryde movie gets canned. You're like, oh, was this happen because of that? Someone who, Chewbacca mom comes out on YouTube out of nowhere, and then it was like, oh my God, millions of views, let's get her to a con. And then she goes to a convention and it's like, doesn't work. So it's like all the entertainment industry is so weird. It's like who would have thought that, let's put all the Beverly Hills housewives together and let's make a show about it. How do you come up with that? So it's like you can't really gauge what's going to happen. So, for example, another example is D. Gray Man. Shit, I didn't know that 10 years later we would come back to that show. I thought for sure we would, and that's why I made the bet about piercing my ears, because I'm like, I guarantee you we're not doing D. Gray Man.
I'll pierce my ears.
And then I said, because I had earlier in that day, I'd seen a guy with pierced ears that looked cool, and so it stuck in my head. And so when someone asked about D. Gray Man, I was like, if that show comes back, I'll pierce my ears. Because I thought for sure, it'd been 10 years. 2 months later, I get a tweet from a fan that's like, congratulations on D. Gray Man. I'm like, wait a minute.
It's like, wait, what?
And so I went and got my ears pierced. And I made good on the bet. But so who knows? Who knows? I have no idea what's going to happen. But I hope for the best. But as a book that I'm reading, fear and hope come from the same place. Think about it, because fear and hope are dealing with things that haven't happened yet in the future, so they both are just a source of stress. So I try to I don't want stress, so I'm not going to hope for it. I would like it, but I'm trying not to hope for it, so that when I get it, it's an awesome surprise. And if I don't get it, I'm like, oh, okay. Jocko's a lot of fun. I like being the legitimate, on purpose comic relief, as opposed to things just being funny in the show. Like, oh, that's a funny moment.
You mentioned Dark Fate before. Would you ever reject a character based on the fact that you think it won't succeed and might hurt your career?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I try to be very selective about stuff like that, especially if it's a character that I felt like went out on a high note. If it's like a cash grab that isn't solidified in quality, I wouldn't do it. Yeah.
You read fan comments often?
I'll pop down there if I'm feeling particularly arrogant someday and I need to bust myself down and get humble. I'll go down there and read. It's like, why would you say that about my mom? You don't even know her. But it's so funny. It's so funny in this comment section. It's like, I do occasionally.